Ireland's most famous whisky begins with John Jameson's arrival in Dublin in the late 18th century. He came in search of fame and fortune. Dublin was the political and financial capital of Ireland. Through its streets flowed the wealth of nations. Whiskey making was in John Jameson's blood, and a sense of destiny and adventure had always lived in the Jameson family. John Jameson's forebears were renowned for their bold pursuit and capture of pirates. For this, the family had been awarded a crest of a limpet, a swift sailing ship, and the motto, Sine Metu, without fear. Perhaps John Jameson was drawn to Dublin because he knew that whisky making had its origins in Ireland. How distilling, the art where barley and water are transformed by the heat of fire into ishkabah, the Gaelic for the water of life, or aqua vita in Latin, was first discovered by Irish monks in the 6th century, when they brought home with them an alembic, the forerunner of the pot still from the Middle East. In fact, it was Irish monks who founded monasteries in Scotland, who showed the Scots the secret of whisky making, a fact often overlooked by the descendants of those early Scots. So, the story of Jameson Irish Whiskey begins with its founder, a man of steely determination with a burning ambition to establish a great whiskey distillery. He would bring his own unique skills to this endeavor. John Jameson's search for adventure had brought him to Dublin, a fashionable city of artists, writers, and revolutionaries, immediately capturing the imagination of a man who was to become a pioneer and a legend. And the whiskey he would create is now considered the ultimate expression of the warm and welcoming character of the Irish people. Whilst Dublin thrived, distilling was a business filled with risk and uncertainty. Jameson's founder had the vision to see the opportunity of combining Ireland's great skill and tradition in whiskey making with his own innovative ideas. Another thing is clear, he took his time. An important element in the Jameson tradition had been established, the measured approach, the lack of unnecessary haste, the serene deliberation. And after much careful thought, John Jameson founded his very own distillery in Dublin's Bow Street in 1780. He knew his grain and set his standard, the finest barley grown in Ireland's rich and fertile soil. He supplied the farmers with specially selected barley seed, and when it grew, he bought their harvests. So when he paid top prices for his grain and locked away his whiskey in casks to mature for many years, Jameson's founder truly knew he was laying down the best and that his patience would be rewarded. In those days, there were tricks of the trade, whereby whiskey was blended and aged into false maturity. Once, an eager salesman offered him a chemical additive that was said to make a week-old whiskey taste like a 10-year-old. John Jameson was appalled and promptly dismissed him. He had identified the key principles of whiskey making: attention to every detail of the process, selection of the finest quality ingredients, the unique approach of drying the barley in a closed kiln, producing a cleaner, more natural, unsmoked taste, dedication to the greatest skill in distillation, especially the art of triple distillation, which produces the purest spirit. And of course, time. The long, slow maturation of the spirit in the casks. These principles would secure preeminence for his whiskey and give it a taste and smoothness exceeding all others. In Bow Street, for 4 generations, son John succeeded father John. Each one trained the next in the art and science of whiskey making, which are firmly anchored in Jameson's 2 centuries of tradition and proven excellence. The whiskey John Jameson had created was destined to take its place in history. Irish whiskey was loved by many historical characters, such as Queen Elizabeth I of England and Peter the Great, Emperor of Russia. The smoothness of Ireland's Ishkabah was noted in Dr. Johnson's first dictionary of the English language.
A compound distilled spirit being drawn on aromatics, and the Irish salt is particularly distinguished for its pleasant mild flavour. The Highland salt is somewhat hotter, and by corruption in Scotland they call it whisky.
Over the years, the distillery at Bow Street grew and prospered. So highly thought of was John Jameson's whiskey that by the 19th century it had become the popular choice with many drinkers worldwide, who consumed over 1 million gallons of Jameson Irish whiskey every year. Sadly, time and history, in the shape of political and military turmoil, intervened. Conflict within Ireland, 2 world wars, combined with the effects of prohibition in the United States and restrictive trade tariffs by Britain, interrupted Jameson's progress. The end was in sight for Irish whiskey making. But the motto "Sine metu," without fear, held the key to surviving and ultimately to triumphing. Drawing on the Jameson spirit yet again, successive guardians of the distilling tradition have been able to restore its fortunes and bring it into what is a new golden age for Jameson Irish whiskey. The heart of this golden age is based here in Midleton. For those seeing a working distillery for the first time, it is still human skill, rich in traditional knowledge, that guides and controls. Choosing the exact temperatures and knowing the right moment, from the buying of the grain to the broaching of the matured cask. To this day, the generations that have followed jealously guard and refine those principles to produce an exceptional whiskey with a honey vanilla character and a sweet, smooth taste. The spirit of John Jameson lives on in Dublin, where he perfected this ancient Irish art. However, the heart of Jameson Irish whiskey now lies in Midleton, where Jameson is distilled and matured to satisfy a growing global demand. Jameson Irish whiskey, a whiskey steeped in tradition and craft, but able to adapt and reinvent itself in a world that offers so much potential to anyone who can go forth with a warm handshake and a mind that knows no fear.